Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment incorporates bipartisan, common sense legislative language from Senators Flake and Feinstein that would modernize reservoir operations for Army Corps facilities. This, in turn, was based on a bill that I've introduced each of the last 3 years called the Forecast Act. And what it deals with is this. Many of the rule curves and water manuals under which the Army Corps of Engineers operates its dams, and during times when they anticipate storms, they use these rule curves to literally dump water, sometimes almost drain reservoirs in anticipation of weather events. These hydrologic rule curves haven't been updated since the 1950s or 1960s. And if you think about it, in the decades since that time, we have these things called satellites. We have all kinds of new science and data points that give us much better granularity and certainty in terms of anticipating what's actually going on with the weather. Now, this amendment, which has already passed the Senate on a strongly bipartisan vote, establishes a pilot project that would direct the Corps to work with local non-federal sponsors to use the best available science to modernize their reservoir operations. This would help increase water storage. It's desperately needed for anybody who depends on the Army Corps, on an Army Corps reservoir for their water supply, and that is many areas in the western United States and especially in California. Now, this amendment would not affect transferred works or Bureau of Reclamation facilities. It is only for the Army Corps of Engineers and only at the request of local water users. But as we think about the arid West and the state of California entering into the 5th year of what might be the worst drought in 1,000 years, we are constantly trying to stretch our water supplies. The lowest hanging fruit, the least controversial solution that we ought to all be able to agree on and move forward, as the Senate has already done, is to ask the Army Corps of Engineers to at least consider data from weather satellites before it starts dumping water mindlessly from rule curves in the 1950s and 60s. We can't afford to waste water like that, and I would respectfully request your support for this amendment.
The gentleman, we just received this amendment. It's 9 pages long. I would encourage the gentleman to withdraw and let's work through this because, again, it's the first time we've seen it here this morning. I think there were some things in here that we might be able to work with, and with that, I'll yield to Mr. DeFazio.
I certainly am totally sympathetic with what the gentleman's trying to do here. I haven't had a chance to review it either, but I have run up against the Corps' rigidity on rule curves time and time again, and then say, wait a minute, really? You're going to start drawing down now, and we know it's not going to rain anymore? Obviously they have to be cautious in terms of potential for flood, a catastrophic dam failure, whatever. But I think this has a lot of merit. I'd like to have the opportunity to work with the majority and with the gentleman, and hopefully we can do this in the manager's amendment.
If the gentleman, I'm willing to work with the gentleman also.
With that commitment, which I very much appreciate, I'll withdraw the amendment.
I appreciate the gentleman withdrawing.